we had that, or would you even necessarily need to even discuss that?
Yeah, you have to. You have to
You know?
because if you don't, what happens is you get the build up and the build up and the build up, and then it becomes explosive when it didn't have to be that way when y'all could have talked it out earlier. Now I ain't the greatest at talking. I talk on here because hell, I like this, but
Yeah.
having hard conversations is hard, and sometimes you don't really want to hear it, but you need to hear it. And then but you as a man, you have to be able to hold your center and be the rock.
Do
It
you
ain't
think that
fun.
friendship would be necessary though? Because at this point, I'm like, if I find somebody else, I probably would be honest with him, like, hey, I found someone, and I just think it might be disrespectful for me to be around and that at one
And
time,
if they're your friend, they'll understand
you
that.
know.
If if if
Oh,
if they understand that, they say, look, we cool, but my partner ain't feeling this, so I'm gonna have
yeah,
to pull back.
yeah.
Is that hard?
Well, you have to find out if your partner feels that way. If you don't know, knowledge is key.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, knowledge is key, but like I said, you gotta if your partner's not feeling it, you gotta take your partner's and because there's sometimes, and I know you've had a best friend since you lived in South Carolina in 80 86 87. And if
Richard.
people, yeah, if people didn't know, they would be like, why is he in your life? He said, aren't y'all,
Right.
you know, something, but and I understand because I lived with you, so I know. But the thing is that there are, as a guy, as a woman, you have to understand different levels of friendship, and you have to understand that there's a line where it's not going to where you can't cross, you can't be out there, and you're not putting your relationship in a position where you got to explain yourself. Am I making sense?
Right.
Yeah, hey, I'm kind of glad you brought up Richard because that was one thing we had discussed. And, that fact, I knew she told me it was a good friend. They've been knowing each other forever. I even went with her and stayed at his house. No, I don't have a problem with that because I knew who he was.
Yep.
The other guy, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know how much I knew they was hanging out together because she mentioned it. But, you know, after being in the situation I've been in, and then knowing these things can happen. I'm not, and I don't want to make it. And we talked about the trust. I know this brings up the trust thing, and it's not that I don't not trust her. It's just that I've been through it, and it's hard. It's a hard feeling to be in that situation, and then
And
see it may happen to you again.
no, no,
Not
I
not by
understand
not
that.
by not by by anybody's fault. It's just that hey, I see this
Well,
shit happens.
well, we are a product of our experiences and our environment. And before I go on, Dabs, I want to holler at my TikTok people. Hey, TikTok, thank you for being on. Thank you for coming on. This is DFG. Feel as good as y'all know me. I'm here every Tuesday night, 8:30 to about 9:30 or 10. And if we go on a little longer, and today we're talking about if you had a significant other who saw their ex or you saw your ex, how do y'all act? How you act or react? And right now, one of my people in my Zoom room is talking about a situation where he had dated someone and they um they saw an old flame, but he didn't feel comfortable with that. Now that doesn't mean he was insecure. That just means his hackles was up, and she didn't allow him to alleviate. She didn't do anything to alleviate his his heightened sense of something. So instead of that, he just walked away, an acceptable reaction. Now back to that, Dabs. I understand where you're coming from because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. But if the you know a lot of times when when your significant other has a friend of the opposite sex, you're looking at them crazy because you're looking at them from your gender point of view. And I mean, it's natural. It's natural if you dating somebody and uh if they got a male friend, and and you look at them react, sometimes you can tell, but you always have something in the back of your head that something may go on, and that is probably not true because they wouldn't be there. But the idea is that you have to tell your person that if you're not comfortable, then I have to make that choice to have less contact with that person. Because, like I said, they could be coming singing Freddie Jackson, and now I ain't talking about Jam Tonight, but stuff like that, coming back, let's rock for old time's sake and things like that. And we just don't know, but it's a tough thing. When
Well,
I'll give you a story. When I was in college and I was dating this young lady. I'm exposing myself, but in college, my stupid behind did a raw thing, and I paid the price. Not the permanent price, not the death sentence, but I got something I ain't want. And after I got my medicine and all that other good stuff, I went, you're supposed to tell your partner, hey, you need to. And you know what this young lady said to me? She said, "Oh, that's what my ex said. He left me a present." What? I said, "What?" I was like,
Wow.
I had lost my ooh, and and to tell you the truth, I was upset and mad for like I I ain't gonna hold you. This is I'm being transparent here. I was mad for 30 something years until she hit
could
me
have
up
been
on
mad at
LinkedIn.
yourself.
Oh, I
Mm.
was mad at myself first of all because my dumb behind. I strapped up, but then I took the strap off. So I I blame me. But the fact that when she told me that she knew she was burning. You know what I'm saying? So I was I was feeling some kind of way. I was in my feels about that when she apologized, and I was like, wow. I was holding on to that for so long, and the burden came. Now I can talk about it, and it's funny, but it's not. You know what I'm saying. This it's something that you deal with. It's something that you deal with that your dumbass in college, and when in your young 20s, and you think you know everything, and it comes back to bite you, and that's it could have been worse. People think that pregnancy is the worst thing that can happen with unprotected copulation. No, it ain't. It ain't. And I can tell you that. But Miss Summer, I know you've been hitched for a while. If Rome ran into somebody from his past and told you as a oh by the way, how would you feel?
I'm sorry, I just finished laughing. Um, uh, I do not know how I would feel. I'm just going to keep it 100%. I have no idea how I would feel. I would probably feel some type of way. It would probably hurt if he didn't put it in check. So if he
And
just
what does
let
put it
it,
in check mean?
that means, oh, it was good seeing you. Have a nice life. If he called and I saw messages back and forth, and it was like, trying to get to know each other on another level, then I would feel hurt if I saw that.
As a person who's been through that and gotten phone calls from people, yeah, I understand how that works. And that's, it's not, especially if you don't answer the phone in front of them. Ain't that right, Kim?
Well, that's you missed. I
Yes.
think you missed a piece of my story when I was telling that. It happened to me, but not only did it happen once, it happened 3 times because it happened again, and then I found out about it. When I found out they was messing around, that's when I told her she had to go. First, she, was like, "Oh no, I just ran into so and so. Oh, it's all good." And I think that was the front, you know, to say, "Hey, I saw him, and I'm hiding. Oh, I saw him once, and I'm gone." Then I find out she saw him 2 more times. So
That's that's a whole different thing. So understanding that's why Summer said she would feel some kind of way. I understand that. Being you got all these men's coming at you.
I ain't got nothing coming at me. They just I don't know, they lurking like I do on Facebook. I don't know. They just, I have no problem because a lot of my friends growing up were males and I was a very big tomboy and I had what you would call masculine energy. So I never seen anything wrong with it. Like I said, once I'm not interested in you no more, I have a switch. It goes off, stays off. And I'm a person that could actually separate the two. I'm just learning. I'm getting this. I learned I get this from my mother. As of last week, I get a lot of my quirks from my mother. So I now I understand why we didn't get along that well. So, but
Your
once
mother
I'm
couldn't get
off,
along with too many women.
no, but and that's crazy because I get along with everybody. Everybody likes me.
And everybody likes
Everybody
her,
likes me.
but when it comes to her seed, if you wasn't me, you was you had
Yeah,
issues
no,
because I could tell you, Chocolate Pearl and I used to have um, early in the 2000s. Chocolate Pearl and I used to have 2 3 hour conversations about our matriarch,
yeah, I just
and
didn't understand. I don't understand it. Like God, the love of my life, God rest his soul. Me and him was off and on for 18 years. Anytime we were off, we were friends. There was no hanky panky, no nothing. We were friends. We could tell each other everything and anything. But once we cross that line. That line is we're friends and together. But after that, if I'm like, you know what, I can't deal with you no more. I just can't. I will leave him alone. I'm a person that ghosts people. I will ghost and drop off the face of the planet. And then
yeah,
6 years later come around like I seen you the day before.
yeah,
But
that's pretty much how people are. But the thing is that, okay, you had that situation, and I'm calling the situation because y'all y'all were in and out. Other people on the outside might look at it as, yeah, y'all ain't together, but y'all got those soul ties together. And that could kind of be, and I'm not saying that that's what happened in Dabs's case with the young lady he was messing with, but he saw that there was something extra when she said, "Oh no,"
yeah, but I'm the
She
type
was singing
that
that Biz
if I'm
Markie
gonna deal
song.
with somebody else, I'd rather break up with you.
Yeah, no, I got you.
I'm not gonna. I'm like, you know what? I have feelings for somebody else at this particular time. My feelings for this person is more stronger. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to come back to you, but we could still be friends.
Yes, and I understand that, but like I said, somebody on the outside is going to look at it totally different because they say, this person's an orbiter, and it ain't got nothing to do with gender. I'm keeping it gender agnostic.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'll let that person be Uranus. That is, yeah. It's not a planet. It's a block of ice in the sky. You just hover in orbit, but don't come into my atmosphere because I'm gonna look at you like you crazy, and then I'm gonna try to hook you up with one of my friends.
And sometimes that don't even that might be even worse, hooking them up with your friends, because then your friends see how crazy that person is and be like,
I told you about them. It's your choice to choose them or not, you know. But that's just me. That's all I like. Like I said, I have that personality where I could actually switch it on and off. If you're my friend, you're my friend. If you're not,
right,
you're not.
right.
And it's really hard for me to break off with my friends. I'm finding that out too.
Yeah, and that's the thing
Um,
is that you know, you and I had the conversation the other day, and you know, I thought what happened was kind of messed up, but it is what it is what it is. Um, I'm saying that is, you know, from a gender perspective, guys have a harder time. You know, y'all talk about we ghosting